There's a lot of offshoring going on, folks. Coinbase announced today that it was opening its offshore crypto derivatives exchange. If you remember, this was announced some weeks back that they were going to be based in Bermuda, offering more exotic financial products that are currently available in the U.S. We talked to Premier David Bird about this just last week at Consensus. Also announced today, Gemini, the one by the Winklevi twins, they're also launching an offshore derivatives platform, again, to escape the looming prospect of further regulatory crackdown. All these U.S. crypto exchanges are a bit miffed that they can't offer the services that the crypto world demands of them. So they're going elsewhere. They're going offshore. We're going to talk about it here on The Hash. Let me talk to David. David, this phenomenon, what's going on? Is this to be expected? What's up?
I think it's to be expected, but it's not clear to me exactly why we should have expected it. Specifically, it's unclear whether this is a particularly real thing, or if, particularly in Coinbase's case, they might be doing a little bit of signaling for political gain, because they are trying to make the case that the SEC's push recently and the alleged wider push to debank crypto companies in a sort of extrajudicial way is going to result in people moving important businesses offshore. And so here they are doing it, at least apparently. So they might be adding pressure to Gary Gensler and other regulators at the same time that they are genuinely opening up a new revenue, not necessarily a totally new revenue opportunity, but a revenue safety valve, a backup that they will have in case things really go bad in the U.S. So a lot of politics and business mixing up together here, I guess, is my assessment.
Yeah, David, I agree with you. You know, Coinbase has been really public about trying to work with regulators. You know, they are registered in the U.S. They are a public company, and still the regulators keep coming for them. I think this is definitely a political signal, but it's also them diversifying their business because they don't know what's going to happen, right? They have a Wells notice in front of them. They're not exactly sure what's going to happen next. And the fact that they continuously make public what's happening, I think I've said this before on the show, shows frustration. When we go over to Gemini, they're another company that's been really communicative with regulators, right? Then they were sued by the CFTC, they were charged by the SEC, and now they're doing the same thing. They're going overseas. I think it's interesting when we look at this, and then we look at the Bermuda Premier, who was on The Hash last week, who's also taking to the public stage and saying, if you're a company like Coinbase, like Gemini, come to Bermuda. Our regulation is clear. It's very clear what you can and cannot do in our country. And so I think everyone is taking advantage of this like regulatory mess we have in the US right now, and it's kind of sad. I do wonder though, you know, if US citizens can access these products some way, shape, or form, if the SEC is going to overreach and try and do the same thing they're doing here in the US, regardless of where these products are set up. Wendy?
Sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a comment on that because I am a law-abiding citizen. I also pay all of my taxes, especially my crypto taxes. I actually overpaid the IRS for 2021, I believe. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. I do think that this is kind of a nothing burger to see big giants like Coinbase and Gemini kind of set up shop overseas. A very good friend of mine, Mark Moss, he's always said, he actually taught me this term, go where you're treated best. Why would a business stay in the United States of America when there's no type of like welcoming, there's no type of regulations, it's a very hostile environment to do business. So it makes, I mean, you guys have to understand too, and audience, is that Coinbase and Gemini, they're businesses. They are probably some of the most compliant crypto service providers in the United States of America. They're consistently registering, they're consistently working with regulators, et cetera. Why would they just place all their bets that everything is going to get settled in the US when it's clearly not right now? And even if it was, it's still going to take quite a bit of time for things to get absolutely sorted here because we have so much red tape and because of all the different types of entities you have to go through to get anything done. So I think this was a smart move business-wide. It sucks for US retail, it sucks for people like me, it sucks for people like in my community, but at the same time, go where you are treated best. And hopefully the United States of America understands that, but I think we are too far gone for that. And I think it was Zach's hand that was up.
Yeah, I wanted to, focus on kind of the business line question. I think it makes a ton of sense, especially in this market, right? Like we're in a market where it's really the crypto diehards, it's the survivors who are here still, right? Who are using these exchanges. And these are people who love crazy stuff. They love Bitcoin perps. They love 5x leverage. And that's what Coinbase has long not been able to offer. So they're doing so by going offshore. You're seeing Gemini. They tried to do this in the US, I think dating back to 2020, but they ultimately kind of revoked their own application under the understanding that it wasn't going to happen. So now they're saying, okay, well, this is what the diehards want. This is what the people in crypto winter are here for. It's not quite that time where new users are flooding onto these platforms to trade crypto. So you better be able to offer the products that, in the crowd are willing to toy with. And that's what Coinbase and Gemini are doing here at a time when they need to, especially in Coinbase's case, show to stockholders that people are actually using this thing. But David, your thoughts?
Let me squeeze in one last quick comment, which is there is a downside here. And I say this as a Coinbase user, which people who know my history might be surprised to learn, which is once you have an entity offshore, that does, at least in my mind, raise risks for the company in the United States. So as somebody who custodies a not large amount of money with Coinbase, I might be making more moves to not do that anymore because they now have this offshore entity, which does raise the possibility of activities going on outside of the purview of U.S. regulators and oversight. And so that does raise some slight concern. So I will just note that as a potential downside for the company. Zach?
I like Jen's point before I throw it to her for the next story about whether or not if one user accesses this from the US by way of VPN, Gary Gensler is going to go get their asses. That was a very good point. Anyway, Jen.
You said the A word.
Sorry.
These are Gary Gensler hands. He's just coming for you.